welcome to all who have tuned in this Thursday evening. I know we have tremendous competition with the World Cup, hence the reason why we were just going to let men primarily who prefer watching football than discussing their prostate have their way. And we were going to visit this in January, but, you know, we figured, you know, football or not, we'll give everybody a choice, you know, and because it's a Zoom conference, obviously you can still have two screens so you can keep your eye on two teams, which, you know, you're a national of neither. You know, so if Mexico is playing someone else, what in truth does that have to do with you? I could understand if it was the Senegal-England game that's coming up on Sunday. I understand, but today's Thursday. So I would have expected everybody to just, you know, been a bit more constructive, you know, and focused on this very, very serious issue that is really reaping havoc in our community. And as I was discussing with our special guests earlier, just before we've come live online, you know, this type of disease, my parents are from the Caribbean, from Jamaica specifically, and I have grandparents, grandfathers, you know, people who are, you know, males in my family and other people's families who live to a pretty decent age. And during my father's time, when he was a young man, fathered 7 children, and he's still going strong. He's 90 something. My sister's on the line. She's better at ages than me. But my father's in his 90s. And these types of diseases were not known among us. But now it's reaping havoc in the Caribbean. It's reaping havoc in Africa. And it's reaping havoc in Europe. So we need to know something about what's going on behind the scenes. Because if Black men will receive a prostate cancer diagnosis, or 1 in 4 Black men will receive a prostate cancer diagnosis compared to 1 in 8 men generally, then that's a state of emergency, isn't it? That's something that we need to focus on. And if we're 2.5 times more likely to get prostate cancer if your father or brother had it, then again, it's something to focus on. Because what we've learned to do is live with pain. You have a toothache, you know, they say, oh, just suck some cloves, you know, but yeah, suck a clove to get you through the night, but go to the dentist in the morning. You know, you can do whatever you need to do. As the old song said, you know, help me make it through the night. But once you've gone through the night, then certainly go and inquire about the best source of which you can attain to eradicate these problems. Because we know in our community, we like nice clothes, don't we? We like nice cars, we like nice jewelry, we like nice things. But the nicest thing that we could acquire is nice health, quality health. Just like, you know, the beautiful garments we like to wear, wouldn't we like our health to be just as healthy as the raiment that we wear? Yeah? I hear some of you.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
You prefer the Mercedes than the good health? And when the warning light comes up on that dashboard, on that car that says service, do you keep driving? You don't. You book your appointment and you drop the car off, get it serviced so that it will be tip top. And if we pulled up at a petrol station and our cars were unleaded and they only had diesel, and you were rushing, like very important, you needed to get somewhere, but they've only got diesel and your car is unleaded. At no time would you just say, well, let me just put some diesel, let me just get me to my destination and then I deal with it afterwards. You would never do that. You'd prefer to park your car up, than to put something that's against the nature of the way in which that car is constructed, right? So obviously we're being ill affected. So we need to know what is it that's going into our system that's having this negative reaction. So we've got two great persons on the line who will address us along this road. We have Dr. Zui, and we have our lead practitioner, Brother Jay. I hope I said the name right, Doctor.
Yes, perfect. Honestly.
Because other than that, I just call you doctor, okay? So that I could be good. So spiritual injection, we have our special guest with us. We're not going to belabor the point. They're going to speak very intelligently to the issue on the table. So please take your devices off of mute and let us receive Dr. Zui and our lead practitioner, Brother and Brother Jay. Let's receive them with a wonderful round of applause.
Welcome to Spiritual Injection. Welcome.
Thank you very much. And as you were speaking, Abdul Hakim, all I could hear was my grandmother saying over and over to us, true wealth is your health.
Right.
How many times did they used to say that to us all?
Right.
And now it's more important. So thank you. What you said is so pivotal, so pivotal. Shall we start? Can we open the slides? We really believe that nano minerals, but minerals are a gateway to human potential. And we hope at the end of this talk, we come closer to understanding why prostate cancer, enlarged prostate, inflammation, which is part of the entire picture, is becoming so commonplace that the World Health Organization has issued a major health warning. This is just a basic disclaimer. I want to start by saying that many people don't know, but the prostate gland is located just below the bladder, and it surrounds the top portion of the tube that drains urine from the bladder, which is the urethra, the tube that empties from the bladder. It's very small, the size of a walnut. I've examined many men and it's the size of a walnut. It does increase as we get older, as men get older naturally, but it produces fluid that makes up part of the semen. But as a man ages, the prostate tends to increase in size. But at what happens and at what level that it increases, and at what age, and what forms around that increase, which is pivotal. So I'll just proceed. Here it is here. There is the prostate there, as we can see, a very basic diagram there. That's the prostate. So it's very, very small. Just move on. And I just want to mention the adrenal glands because I will talk further about it, and so will Jay. But many medical studies have shown that a lot of enlarged prostate and prostate problems is directly due to adrenal exhaustion, which interferes with androgen, which is very, very important for the prostate, and it displaces androgen. And if we have too much androgen, we are much more prone to prostate cancer. So we're beginning to see a picture emerging here. This is very important. We must honor Professor Frank Chinagundu. I had the pleasure of meeting him many, many years ago because I was looking at thousands of men and illnesses, cardiovascular disease and many diseases, and a wonderful man. And he is now an MBE. I don't think they awarded him quick enough, but prostate cancer, as we know, is the most common cancer in men in the UK. Although it affects all men, black men are 2 to 3 times more likely to develop this cancer than their white counterparts. But even more importantly, the death rate is twice as high, which is very concerning. Furthermore, black men, this is directly from Professor, black men are more likely to develop prostate cancer at a younger age and becoming younger quicker, not just especially in Western countries, America and England. Especially black men that are living away for long periods of time. I will go into that later, actually, because I'll muddy the waters. It is essential that Black men in particular know about their increased risk of prostate cancer. And if there really is a world health problem, we must bring this message through. And having dealt with men for years and years, men's health, I found that their partners, their family, their mothers, their sisters are very important, usually dragging them to the doctor. So women, we have a very important role to play. So this is another wonderful doctor, Dr. Abdullah, who has worked many, many years in prostate cancer in men and in Black men. Inherited biological factors could be a factor, says Dr. Abdullah. Studies have shown that prostate cancer in Black men has a different genetic profile. The mutations that they have are different. It is more aggressive cancer. At diagnosis, they present with higher stage of cancer. So this is also very concerning. And his take-home message is that as healthcare professionals, we need to stay vigilant. And this is key. Stay vigilant, as we can see here. So we have benign and enlarged prostate, which is many men worry that having an enlarged prostate means they have increased risk of developing prostate cancer. This is not always the case from the NHS survey. I have other theories where there is inflammation, constant inflammation. It affects many other aspects of the body. And usually by the time a man shows an enlarged prostate, there are other underlying health issues within their body that need to be addressed. So the risk of prostate cancer is no greater for men with an enlarged prostate than it is for men with an enlarged than it is without. But actually, it is an indication the body is holistic. It is a functioning organ. Every single organ it works together. So if you do have an enlarged prostate, usually other things have gone wrong with the stomach, with the heart. Diabetes is showing. So it's worth looking at. And if I may just say, because there's so much to get on, I can go further into that. But usually the gland is between 3 by 3 by 5 centimeters, between 15 and 20 grams. By the time it becomes enlarged, it is 60 to 70% larger than that. And I assure you, it causes major problems on the bowel and the bladder, which we have seen. So the human prostate gland contains extremely high zinc levels. In a man, most of the zinc is contained in the prostate, which is very important to have adequate zinc levels. So high levels of zinc are needed and contained in the prostate. So zinc deficiency in men over 50 is implicated in prostate disorders and very, very high in prostate cancer. So we are an aging population. I put this up because it's so important from the World Health Organization. So we are aging and showing more and more neurological disorders, Alzheimer's, a lot more cancers, diabetes, heart disease, and a lot more prostate cancer, especially in Black men. So aging is important because there are different types of aging. And I just want to say that every slide I could talk for a week about, couldn't we?
Absolutely.
So if I can just give an overview, we're also doing Black Sea Dawn next week, which will tie into this perfectly. But studies have demonstrated that the rate of aging can be slowed, and targeting aging will coincidentally slow the appearance and reduce the burden of numerous diseases and increase our health span, which is the portion of life spent in good health. So men looking at prostate health younger is crucial as they age, and obtaining good health earlier is very, very important. So the most common source of inflammation in the body is what is at the end of our forks. And Kim said it all. You wouldn't buy a beautiful car and put cheap petrol in it. So why on earth would you put that in your body? Why on earth would you put it at the end of your fork? And I want you to talk more about that, because I know with men's health is so important. I'm going to go back and just to say that the interaction and interdependence and interrelationship of minerals is the essence of nutritional therapies and forms the basis of correction of nutritional deficiencies and lowering inflammation in the body.
Absolutely. I think this is something that we have to look at the foundation. We look at the body as the motherboard, the computer system. So when you have a system that is working correctly, all what is on the outside or what's on the inside is functioning, frequencies and messages are going in throughout the body, through the nervous system, the mitochondria, the liver, the cancer, as Dr. Zoe was mentioning. So we do get a warning sign, as Brother Hakeem was saying, that red light is flashing. And we're overlooking that, and we're still driving the car, and we're passing the petrol station, we're going on and we're going on until the car completely shuts down. Whether it's an automatic, whether it's a manual, whether it's an electric car, it just stops. And then literally then you are having to go to the emergency ward. Prevention is better than cure. So we understand this, but we seem to have a problem as Black men to go and get checked out, or to take the warning signs, or to take the necessary measures and look and say, okay, why is this happening? Why is it happening? Okay, I can't put diesel in a petrol car. And so it's almost like we think there's another way. There isn't another way. There is basically, your body is a vessel. It's the only one that we have. It's more valuable than anything else that we have, possessions, cars, etc., etc. It will allow us to obtain these things only if we follow a certain protocol, which is good diet, sleep, exercise.
Yes.
I myself sometimes fall prey to these things as well. You know, I'm not superhuman. And we're in a society where we're having to work, we're having to do these different things, children, family, etc., etc., etc. So it starts to fall back in. So we have to, you know, think, okay, what is essential here? Okay, I need a job. Okay, but if you haven't got health, how can you go to your job? How can you pick up the children? How can you do X, Y, and Z? So it goes back. So you reverted back to the same place, saying, okay, but I need this, and I need. Yes, you need to take care of your health. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to function correctly and do those other things. So we have to look at, revise our diet. We have to look at sufficient sleep.
Very important.
We have to look at what minerals we're currently taking, or minerals, the elements of the origin of the earth cannot be made living organisms. So this thing that we have in our minds, well, we'll just take some capsules or some minerals and that'll be that. It doesn't work like that, because the body will, again, the flashing light, the warning light will come on, stomach problems, heart murmurs, headaches, all these different things are trying to explain to you that we need base minerals.
Yes.
They are the foundation for each of us. And if we don't take them, we're going to keep revisiting this problem over and over again. And also, I'd like to say very, very quickly, Brother Hakeem mentioned something. This historical thing with our parents, they had a completely different diet.
Yes.
It was a different timeline. You know, everything is fast now. Fast food, fast this, fast that.
May I interject something very important?
Please do.
Just the salt that our parents used had minerals, extraordinary minerals. That in itself, having been removed, has had the most detrimental effect on our diets and our households. Our salts celery comes from there for a reason. The salt was possibly one of the most important things on our table. Not now. Now it's dangerous. I ask patients to get rid of it. So just to intercept how important it is, our salts were mineralized with iodine, with magnesium, with zinc. It was a phenomenon. Not now. Not now. So just to
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely. And that was
because we've got so much to...
Yeah, it was a key point, and yes, very, very passionate as we are to find solutions to an old age problem. The other thing that we have to consider, this is 14, 15 years, 14, 15 generations going back, where we had just literally come out of slavery. We're revisiting trauma, stress to the body. But at those times, as you said, Brother Akeem, we had a structured diet, a staple diet. It wasn't, oh, I'm just popping out to go and get some Chinese or some food. We didn't have that because those options weren't available to us. We came home from work or whatever, mom and dad, the food was already prepared, hand cooked, hand prepared.
And seasonal.
Absolutely. So we're not having the same amount of zinc, copper, selenium, etc. in the diet. So now everything is supplementation. Yes. And as you know, we have Big Pharma to thank for these things, spraying the whole pharmaceutical industry with the
glucosates have destroyed.
It's contaminated.
We're going to go on, and shall we go on? And
let's proceed.
I just want to say, because we've got so much.
We have.
We don't want food that is dead. It does not contain vital minerals. If you put this in your body over and over again, your cells will not be able to live. They won't. Structured water and nutrients in our food picked up from the soil as nanometers. Tiny, tiny, tiny molecules that keep the earth going. If they don't form in the oceans and picked up by the algae, we would not be here. So it's so important we have live food. We've got so much to say. The minerals are energy. They literally are energy from the earth in the body.
Absolutely.
And because we want to get to the human, we're going to run out of time. I've got so much to say to all of you. We're going to run out of time. But we are entirely made up of minerals and water, and we really are. And getting the minerals into the cells, into the mitochondria, is very important. And I will discuss that later on. We will talk about it. So we cannot survive without minerals.
No, we can't. We can't. That's basically the fundamental. We know we're 80%, 78% water. We go back again. We had substantial amount of zinc, copper, selenium, and iron this time. Sorry, the early days. But now we're concerned with even water, with the amount of fluoride and water that we get from the tap. It's gone through the 40–50%. So we're having
contraceptive pills.
The list is endless. It's almost like we've been subject and held hostage to the pharmaceutical industry, benign to us what we're actually putting into our system, and then we're wondering why we can't function the way we do. We don't have the attention span. We don't have the memory. All these different things are affecting us. They're triggers. They affect everything around us, in and out, our relationships. It's a whole array of things. So we do have to get back to base minerals, what the body is made of, and how it synthesizes throughout the whole mitochondria and the whole system.
Very, very important, actually, because thank you for that, because actually without minerals, we cannot absorb vitamins, proteins, carbohydrates. So that's how important minerals are. So composition, I will go back. The pH was very important. We really wanted to say that having an alkaline body, the only part of the body you want acid is your stomach. And acid diminishes over the age of 40, which is causing, and even younger now, which is causing no end of problems, because we cannot liberate minerals, vitamins, proteins from our foods without adequate acids within our stomach. We've got so much to say. A loss in homocysteine, equilibrium between nutrient interactions, the malabsorption is the main cause of chronic inflammation. And chronic inflammation is the root of all disease. And the body's saying, help, help, there's a problem. You must address it. So inflammation is a process of tissue response in the body, reaction. Acute inflammation is something that we need in its nature's fight back mechanism to deal with the threat of invasion. We saw that during the COVID pandemic. People that had a high level of inflammation, low vitamin D levels, low zinc levels, absolutely no magnesium in the body, were the first that the virus took over. And if your immune system diminishes, you cannot fight any of these diseases at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Just interjecting there as well, that this pandemic that consumed the entire world, it shut down the immune system by 50–60%.
Yes.
So if you imagine now having a low immune system, poor diet, lack of exercise, consumed by stress, it's only a matter of time. The clock is just ticking. You know, so we're questioning ourselves. Well, what do I do? What must I do? It's staring you right in the face. Your body's telling you. The body will always send signals to where the immune system has been compromised, and we don't act quickly. You know, the inevitability is there. And we have to act fast.
Absolutely, and segues perfectly. The World Health Organization ranks. This is what they did last year, ranks chronic inflammatory disease as the greatest threat to human health. Because 3 to 5 people die due to chronic inflammation, diseases like stroke, respiratory disease, heart disease, cancer, which is, we have the prostate cancer coming here, obesity and diabetes, and more Black men die of prostate cancer, we were told, but actually a lot of Black women die more of ovarian cancer and so forth. So this is something we really need to look at. Jay, you really like this slide. I'd like you to read.
Yeah.
I know how important
the inflammation are mainly divided into acute, chronic inflammation, depending on various inflammation processes and cellular mechanisms. So we take the body as a whole, holistic cellular system.
Yes.
So those minerals that we have spoken about, zinc, magnesium, in fact, magnesium is the key fundamental one, then zinc, copper, iron are the foundation ones. They work on a cellular mechanism throughout the whole entire body. So lack and deficiencies of these things, and also vitamin D, because unfortunately we're in Europe, and those things, they really affect our people in a very detrimental way. So if we're not looking at revising our diet, we're going to continue to have these problems. Recent investigation will clarify that inflammation is a major factor progression of various chronic diseases and disorders, including diabetes, cancer, and cardiovascular diseases, eye disorders, arthritis, diabetes, autoimmune diseases, and inflammation to the bowel. That's why, again, we have a high rate of bowel cancer within our people as well.
Yes.
Very detrimental.
And inflammation in the body, more people with inflammation are more likely to get Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, dementia, etc. So there's a pattern occurring here. We'll cover the netta black seed oil next week,
Sure.
How it lowers inflammation. We're very proud of this product. It comes from Ethiopia. Extraordinary product.
It's you know, what do you
It's
say?
nectar from the gods.
It is a gift. It is a gift from God.
It is a gift from God.
It's also key that it actually comes in violet glass. It's not plastic. It's not your standardized black seed oil that's been available for many years. It also has another component, natural chemical thiaquinine, that charges the melanin in the body as well. But we'll talk more about that next week.
We will. Next week we'll talk about it, because it'll also segue perfectly into prostate inflammation, etc.
Sure.
Because lowering in the bowel. So we've got so much to say, but just to cover, it begins in the soil. The World Health Organization has issued a major health warning to all healthcare professionals. It came, I was waiting for it for the last 10 years, but it finally came, because I get it immediately, that we have absolutely no magnesium left in our soils, and that all healthcare professionals must be vigilant, because we are heading for medical emergency. It doesn't exist in our soil anymore. We have no selenium left in England, hardly any zinc, and no magnesium. So this is crucial. So we need to replenish the body with it. Organic vegetables do not have a lot of these nutrients either. They don't have other things, or the chemicals, etc., but the fertilizers. But let's not fool ourselves. They don't have a lot of minerals either. Some people grow themselves and replenish the soil with seaweeds and so forth. But generally speaking, for the majority of us, we don't receive these nutrients. So here we have straight from selenium is non-existent in the UK, very, very low levels, dangerously low, non-existent of magnesium, zinc, and selenium. This is very serious, very serious. So we have a paradox, which is a hard concept to understand, that while the tissues are full of minerals in a sense, the cells are lacking in nanominerals because they're not going into the cells, we're not processing it, and we're competing with all the toxins, as you said, everything else that's bombarding our systems, including stress.
Yeah, very, very much so. Could we just...
Shall we go back? Shall I go back to that one, Jay?
To do for the entire audience so they understand the distinction between nano minerals and nanotechnology.
Absolutely.
Well.
Oh, yes, very important,
yeah.
very important. Yeah. Yes, go on, Jay. Very important.
So
thank you.
The nano minerals are the microscopic molecular level minerals that are in the body, in the water, in the trace minerals, which we should be consuming, but unfortunately it's become deficient because of big pharma and so on and so forth. So we're having to seek supplementation. We're having to seek going back to nature, ancient minerals that existed for thousands of years. We are fortunate now as our company to have researched these things, to present them to your good selves, and how to restructure and re-engineer the body back to what it was supposed to be. And so it's very, very important for us to look at, again, we have to emphasize this thing: diet, natural supplementation, exercise, and sleep are base.
Yes.
We are challenged with it, but these are very, very important for us.
Yeah.
The nanotechnology is what has been used as part of the pandemic.
And also in medicine, nanotechnology is used to try and bring drugs into different portals and different organs, but that's another subject entirely, and a very, very big subject, but just to distinguish. And I also want to distinguish that nanominerals are very, very different to all the supplements, the conventional supplements that you will see on the shelves. Those supplements that you see, the body has to, apart from all the fillers, excipients, put it into a tablet, which is unnatural, even the liquid ones, you have to liberate the compound from it, and the body has to be strong enough, able enough to do so, and takes a long time as well. But nanominerals are completely and utterly 100% elemental and bioavailable, because they go through the blood-brain barrier into the cerebral spinal fluid, immediately into the tissues, nerves, cells, mitochondria, for immediate access for our flight and fight responses. We've got so much, we must move on. I think we're going to run out of time. We've got so much to say. We're so sorry. Well, I will get through this very quickly. We don't need to talk about fasting. We've talked about exercise, which is so...
Come back to fasting. Let's not skip over that, because we have some of us are going on a 3-day fast.
I'm a major proponent. You're a major proponent of it. Medical studies. I ask my patients all the time, because it resets the body. And if they can't fast, I ask them to do intermittent fasting, because it's anti-cancer. And I just want to go on. We can do a whole talk on it. But what is important, potentially fasting can result in changes to weight and control weight fluctuations, menstrual cycles, changes in fertility, arthritis, etc., etc. But improves the microbiome, which is vitally important, digestion, and certain cancers. It gives the body a break. The body then resets. It uses what it has. It takes toxins out of the fat to use. It's very, very important. And if the liver is functioning correctly, it will push things out of the liver.
Yeah, just interjecting slightly regarding the fasting. I would not recommend heavy fasting whilst doing overexertion of exercise. You have to kind of balance that out. But fasting, yes, is very, very important, and it's discipline, and as the doctor was saying, it resets the body back, flushings a lot of the major toxins that are out. that we've absorbed inside and outside as well. So that's very, very key, fundamental.
And how we break the fast is very important. We could do a
Yeah, if I could just say, isn't that one of the major problems? Like when somebody is going through a fast, whether it's a 1-day fast, 2-day fast, 3-day fast, that whole period must be designed for one to rest and do things different. You have to change your schedule, right? Because it's a whole system that needs to be enacted, if you will. You know, so it's pointless. For me, what I'm thinking is pointless to abstain from food if you haven't abstained from the things that cause you so much stress and all of these activities that lead to anxieties, etc., that actually lead you to want to eat.
That's right, lead you to want to eat, trigger the blood sugar levels. And also, I say to people, just stop eating at a certain time and start again. So you can do 12 hours through sleep, etc., and how you break it. But it's a wonderful topic. We'd love to come back and I think it's pivotal to say, let's go on. We've talked about exercise. We've got so much to do. I want to talk about zinc. I want to talk about actual deficiencies, but sleep is very important. Jay, I know, is passionate about this, and so am I. I had a picture of a beautiful creature sleeping, and my patients would say to me, did you want me to go to Australia or whatever? I'd say, no, I want you to sleep. Because actually, people that sleep longer and better have a lot less inflammation, depression. Many aspects of their life are very different, but especially cancer, because your body gets a chance to repair.
Mm-hmm. Very, very much so. And again, we know this is very, very difficult with people's schedules, with demand for work and appointments and so on and so forth, but you've got to try and get sufficient sleep. The body will rewire. Exercise, food, all those things happen through the circadian rhythm and the sleep cycle. Mm-hmm. So it is fundamental for us, regardless of whatever we're doing in terms of work and demand, that we get that sufficient time for sleep and rest so the body can function for the next day.
And remove phones.
And absolutely. That's my wife mentioned that about that. She put that phone
I don't have anything in the room.
Outside. Those things that can cause interference in the system. Especially in the mitochondria as well. Mm-hmm. Again, you mentioned with Akeem with the fasting. So again, you're going through that sleep cycle and the food cycle. So your time, your circadian rhythm, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, very, very fundamental for the system to reanimate itself, to restructure itself, to resynthesize itself. That is pivotal. So sleep is key.
Very important, very important. For sanity, for everything, and so here is the range, just to get us to the point. They are mineral solutions, they're perfectly spherically shaped, etc. There's so much to say on them. But what is important is that they're between 0.5 nanometers and actually 7 nanometers, some of them. We have an extraordinary range. We also have gold, which is phenomenal for depression, for multiple sclerosis, etc. Platinum. But we're going to talk today, we're going to focus on prostate and etc. They're structured water. But what is important, to give you an idea, a very, very fine piece of paper here. So there, that part of the paper is 100,000 nanometers. So you can imagine how small they are. And because they're so small and energized and in biophotonic mirror glass, which only allows infrared, ultraviolet, and violet light, so they're oligodynamic, they're alive. They go through the blood-brain barrier into the cerebral spinal fluid, immediately into the cells. We're dealing with something, you don't have to liberate them, they're completely bioavailable. People actually comment on how they feel. The magnesium's, apart from anything else, fantastic for headaches, etc. And I give it to a lot of postmenopausal women, etc., menopausal women. But what is important is that you have something for immediate availability for the body, which is so vital. And these extraordinary bottles that they're stored in, medical grade, mirror glass, biophotonic, and I know you want to talk about biophotonic. We must move on because we're going to, the biophotonic energy,
yes.
Which is, we've summarized here.
We've gleaned that all food is based on energy and frequency. So those early days, Brother Hakeem, that you talked about, the glory days, when we had a very good diet, the food was alkaline, it had the electrical conductors for the body to function, to be able to do those hard labor works that our parents did back in the day. But now we have this chemically enhanced genetic food that we're prey to, that we're falling prey to, and ultimately calling to these diseases that inevitably cause problems for us in multiple ways that we have to look at and realign ourselves back to what the late Dr. Sebi has said, the alkaline food, the alkaline diet. It is challenging for us because we know we like starchy food and meat and so on and so forth, but we're going to have to get to a point. What's more important? Is it what is on the plate, or is it our diet and good health and our families? And
putting it in perspective, if you cannot put biophotonic energy in the form of food into your body, it cannot be transformed into electrical energy by the relationship of bacteria, mitochondria inside the cells, because that's their main job. And your batteries go low. What happens when your batteries go low? Your charge comes out of your physiology, your repair rates decline, and ultimately disease and your ability to cure diseases becomes inadequate. So this is very important, and very important, especially in the prostate, because you have the bowel next to it, which is storing matter, which is toxic, needs to be removed from the body. And that will leak out and will contribute to an enlarged prostate. So having the bowel clear and clean is very important in prostate health, all health, but we are talking about prostate health here.
Just interjecting very quickly, again, breaking down of the immune system, again, is compromising the ability to reanimate itself and build and fight off all these chemicals and so on and so forth that we eat in really bad bacteria food. The gut has a job to do, the body has a job to do, it needs to function correctly. So we can eradicate these things to be able to have a more holistic health and diet.
And holistic health is true medicine, what I call vibrational medicine. That's why I work as an integrated doctor. It uses energy within the food, what we think, what we see, what we hear, our mental, everything. And that is what it's all about. So I just want to say zeta potential. I won't go on about zeta potential, but we have a very, very high zeta potential in the nano minerals. They're behind us. And if you've got a good zeta potential, what it means is equivalent to the blood. If your zeta potential is not high, your blood is not viscous and it will not pump through the heart. It will clot and it will cause major problems. So you have this extraordinary high zeta potential pumping through. And as we've said, through the blood-brain barrier, and they must be taken, which we can supply sheets and everything, but they must be taken on an empty stomach, with nothing in the mouth, including brushing the teeth, because they go through the oral mucosa and all the soft tissue. So that must be free of anything else for it to go through. That is the only stipulation with it.
It is,
and it's all absorbed.
Yeah, just quickly again, going back to that slide, we have a high rate of mental illness. Yes, mental illness, Alzheimer's and dementia. These are prey based on the same thing, having a deficiency of minerals, deficiency of sleep, deficiency of consuming the right amount of food. All the anxiety, the stress, and the body's, knocking at the door saying, please help me, we're going to shut down. You're not going to drive the car won't function. These are the things that we have to really, really look at. As we've said, it's an epidemic now. That's why you're having these increases of death rates.
And the blood-brain barrier. The blood-brain barrier decays and erodes way before the stomach has a problem. This is very important. We saw this during COVID. It decays and everything gets through, including toxins, and it damages the brain. So this is very important, that what comes through this blood-brain barrier, that the blood-brain barrier is strong. But we've got so much to say. I'm worried we're not going to get through everything. That's the mirror on glass. So this is what, I'll just leave this slide up to look. They're 100% bioavailable, these nano minerals, but let's go on. The mitochondria is very important. The nano minerals enter the mitochondria. I'm so conscious of time. but a decline in the quality of mitochondria has very far-reaching far-reaching effects on the health of our nation. And as a matter of fact, medical studies have shown that mitochondrial dysfunction inhibits cell death and can contribute to the development of cancer. So getting the minerals into the mitochondria to do their work so that they can function as cofactors and coenzymes is very, very important.
It's imperative.
It is. It's everything
It's
really
imperative.
to good health. So I wanted to talk about the microbiome and the prostate, but I think we're going to run out of time. But if somebody asks a question, I can go into it.
Sure.
Let me just say something that they've proven now, that in the microbiome, it talks to every living cell in the body, which is very important. And they have found viruses within it after COVID, the SARS-CoV-2. So it's very important what we do in the bowel. But let's go on. This is very important. A diet low in dietary magnesium intake, hundreds of medical papers have shown this, or low blood magnesium levels is linked with increased prostate cancer risk. So this is serious. This is serious. Not only in the soil, we have to look out for this. Magnesium is very important. It's the main molecule, just like the heme is for the iron. It's this equivalent to the heme for chlorophyll. So that's how important it is. And chlorophyll brings oxygen, carries oxygen in the blood. So we're beginning to see a pattern here in a picture here. So nanomineral magnesium is key to magnesium status. And I wrote this for an organization and they printed it. So it would be acceptable and prudent to include magnesium in the treatment plan for at least 95% of our patients and family, as its importance is similar to mortar in a building and as valuable as ligaments are to the skeleton. So I just was so impassioned when I read the World Health Organization report. So magnesium is important for many things, but important for type 2 diabetes, hypertension, heart failure, for menopausal women. It is involved in the regulation of cellular and mitochondrial functions, and you want to get the magnesium into the cells. So zinc, very important, especially for prostate health, as we mentioned before. It's the second most abundant transitional metal within the body. Interconnected relationships with other trace minerals, especially iron and copper, very important. So we have zinc and copper. If someone's very iron deficient, by the way, our iron has no side effects. It's one of the best irons you can get. No side effects at all when you take our iron. So zinc is required as a cofactor for mitochondrial enzymes and multiple subunits of electron transfer. If I go through these slides, they'll be able to be seen, and we can always elaborate more next week, because I know questions important in cell division, in shedding and replicating within cells, for skin. It was very important in COVID-19. People with low zinc and levels and low vitamin D. By the way, I want to say something very important. Every single cell in our body has a receptor for vitamin D for a reason. We have been created so that we can go out in the fresh air and have sun and enjoy the outdoors and rest. So that's how important our hormone. It isn't really a vitamin, it's a hormone. But again, so zinc and copper hold the key for collagen, and collagen is very important for prostate health and all the body generally. So we're beginning to see a pattern here. I'm sorry I'm rushing through. We have so much to say, didn't we? We want to get to the questions. And we have an incredible for lowering inflammation resistance RX, which is an active ingredient with vitamin C, curcumin, and albumin. It goes through the blood-brain barrier. And I want to talk about nanoplatinum.
Please.
Unbelievable for preventing chronic diseases, premature aging, degenerative brain disorders, mitochondrial disorders. It's the most powerful mineral to promote mental health, but very important in inflamed prostate. Very important if the person has been very ill and needs to build their body up, helps promote lucid dreaming, EMF.
Yeah. Electromagnetic frequencies that we fall prey to, again, with mobile phones, electrical devices, where your server is in your house or in your home. It's protection against that, against the body and radiation, which we unfortunately we pray to, because many of us are still coming out of COVID and working from home. We've made our own home offices, so we've got to look at the body holistically. We're affected, we're fearfully and wonderfully made. So we have to consider these things that really affect us, that we can eradicate. Again, the mental illness, the stress, the anxiety, having sufficient water intake as well. And so we're able for the body to repair. Very, very key, because we have got an imbalance of the equilibrium of the mitochondria system. That's the problem that we have.
And the mitochondria is very, very fragile. Although it's extremely important, it's the powerhouse of the cell. It's possibly one of the most important. It's still fragile. So now here's nanoplatinum as we used. Of course, we use platinum for chemotherapy, but and most devices are made from platinum, but it's a bioelectrical conductor, powerful antioxidant. And here we are in solution. I don't think we're going to have time, but platinum, it's also a great antibacterial, and also for prostate, enlarged prostate, nano silver, because it helps break down the bacteria and helps fight viruses in the body. But that's another talk, which will...
It is. Very, very quickly, could we just go over the difference between nano silver and colloidal silver? Because they're two...
Absolutely, they're very, very different. Our nano silver, colloidals are they're very different. Firstly, they aggregate, they're not stored in our biophotonic bottles, and they're usually above 40 nanometers. Ours are below, so we're dealing with a whole different product. And this is an example. They used platinum nanoparticles that were above 40 to develop anti-cancer agent with great success, this medical paper. I can't even imagine if they used ours, what would happen. So our nano silver is literally alive. It searches for electrons. And in order for it to seek electrons, it goes to bacteria and viruses where electrons are weak. So you have a very sophisticated product, but we haven't featured nano silver because I really wanted to talk about.
Sure,
we didn't have time, but it's very important for fighting bacteria. But we can come back if we're welcome to talk again.
Absolutely.
This says it all. Says it all. Platinum.
Platinum, the catalyst for minerals, works well with zinc. Well, they work well together. It's an equilibrium. It's a marriage. Magnesium yet does not change. Chemical makes up and stays the same. So there's no. Again, it's a whole organism working organically through the whole body. They're not separate. As the body's not separate, the liver is not more important than the heart, and so on. It's a whole working mechanism.
There's a reason kings used to drink out of a platinum goblet. Let's leave it there before we and gold. There's a reason for everything.
Yeah. The chalice.
The chalice, yes.
The chalice.
But we cannot not say about depression and fatigue, which is very important in prostate problems. We have an absolute epidemic. 1 billion people a year are not only diagnosed, but prescribed with many, many medications that often don't work and make the situation worse for depression and fatigue. So, and it really is prominent in prostate cancer and large prostates. The body begins to weaken, and often depression is part of it. So as we know, an inflammation leads to increased permeability of the blood-brain barrier, allowing easy entry of inflammatory molecules or immune cells into the central nervous system. So this is important. This is all beginning to feed in. With EMFs again, it interferes with the ionic balance. I would get everything out of the bedroom. I'd get rid of Alexa and everything. I certainly wouldn't have it in the house. So on a spiritual level, platinum is very important because it stimulates the pineal gland,
absolutely,
the seat of the soul.
It does very much so.
Produces melatonin.
Yeah. Also, you have gold. You've got quite a few. Gold is it supports platinum, but platinum as a single element is probably number one, the most attaining to help feed keep the pineal gland clean, because okay, we're blessed with what God has given us, but we have to keep that area clean as well.
Yes, yes, very important. It stimulates the pineal gland, and we know how important it is, especially it is the seat of the soul, but it's bombarded, affected with EMF, stress, trauma. And what my brother Jay said, trauma can be seen genetically in the body over 14 generations. I just want to leave you with that. It's very important. But we have fermented chlorella, which has shown in many, and ours is extraordinary, so pure. It really purifies the liver and the bowel, medical studies have shown. So if somebody has very high levels of enlarged prostate and problems, we would really recommend fermented chlorella. It is a chelator, it binds, it helps the liver remove toxins, and ours is fermented and very, very high quality. It's another talk. We're going to run out of time. I promise I will speed up. There he is, the chelator. So the difference between beneficial effects might be due to the synergism between multiple nutrient and antioxidant properties. So I just want to say, this is the protocol that we give a lot to do with prostate, enlarged prostate and inflammatory responses in the body, especially with bowel and digestion and fermented chlorella. I think what is vital is that we understand that the more nutrients we have within us and the more we look after ourselves, we actually have reserves for energy to make decisions, whatever those decisions be, right or wrong, we can cope with them better. And whatever is coming towards us, it builds up a protective strength within us. But I know, Jay, that's a big thing for you when you see people all the time.
Yeah. Absolutely. In fact, it was my wife that said that you either are standing still, moving forward. It's one of those options. You're standing still or moving forward. And that's the options that we do have. Just endorsing what you have said, Brother Akeem, pharmaceutical company are endorsed, the general practitioners are endorsed by the pharmaceutical company because that's their mandate. Their mandate is not to make you well. It is to take 10 pills for this, 10 pills for that, 10 pills you consume with them. And so the body can't use those as energy because most of them have fillers in there and they have side effects. Natural minerals has no side effects. You don't go and think, well, tomatoes are going to give you a side effect and so on. So it's from the earth. So we have to consider that we are either going to go back to nature or we're going to continue to have synthetic drugs, eat bad food, have a bad diet, lack of exercise, and it's just breaking down the immune system again. So we're not able to function correctly throughout the day. With the whole.
How important is it going to be for us to, within a probably short space of time, just consider the country in which we live in? How important is that? Because it seems as if England is depleted of a vital of magnesium, something that's vital to our well-being and our children's well-being, then how important is it for us to now consider where we live? Like how, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is that?
It's choices. I see a lot of people that the choice isn't, it's worth considering. I don't know whether any country is immune to it because of the water. But what I do know, if we could start with fundamental first principles, perhaps looking at growing a little bit of our food, each of us, even in apartments, in pots, beginning to grow food. But I think the biggest situation we have and the biggest, most dangerous game we play is not educating our children younger.
Right.
And
so
I
they
think
eat so much garbage, don't they?
And
what I find,
the commercials, when they watch cartoons, was always the terrifying thing with my children. It shocked me that you'd see them in front of a wonderful cartoon and the commercials for sweets and was awful. And I think at school they've removed cooking, basic things like cooking and etc. They don't consider it important. And I think we need to get back to looking at these things, but also understanding the first port of call when we're ill, understanding what illness is within our body and how we deal with it. Because often, it used to happen to me all the time when people would come, if you give people drugs, it often masks and pushes something away that comes back later on if they haven't dealt with it. And so we have to really look at it. There are many places where a lot of doctors are now becoming more integrated. For years I saw it, but I think we need to really replenish. And that's why I became a consultant, because I saw what the nano minerals did, how they put back. And I saw that, I thought, well, liberating these compounds isn't working. All these supplements on the shelves, I mean, that's also a £1 billion industry that doesn't work. So we have to really evaluate and I think work together and eat together, eat slower and eat together.
Right. So go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, just another key. We're making excursions to go to other countries. Another problem that we have, the propaganda in advertising and marketing. This is as well as the Caribbean countries, that we have the KFCs and the McDonald's. So we don't want those traditional foods. We're seeking version elsewhere because there is a problem again here with the self-hate, with the mind being affected by the trauma, thinking that it appears to be better than what we have. And we are consumed by these things, and we're almost as though our minds have gone to a completely different place. We're mass thinking, well, is this better for us? You know, we'll just try it. It's artificial food, let's face it, you know. So, you know, we have to make these decisions. Wherever you're going to go, you know, big pharma's going to be there.
Yeah.
Because they want the money. Yeah. And we are guinea pigs, unfortunately.
And they also buy into the health industry. They also buy into the health industry. You have the two coming together. And but I really, as we know, and I know the Nation of Islam, educating our young.
Yes, absolutely.
That's the best gift we can give.
Yes.
As human beings on this planet, is to really leave a good legacy to our young.
Absolutely. Well, a question has been posed. How useful is having testosterone after a prostatectomy?
It depends. It depends on the cancer. It depends. It's a good question, but it would depend. It's better to produce testosterone naturally and to look at why you have none. And often the lack of androgen, or the androgen being displaced in the prostate, is usually because of cortisol levels and adrenal before that. So often the problem isn't solved. But, and remember, during prostate cancer, some of the cells in the prostate start producing testosterone artificially and causes even more problems. So it's a very big question, and it would depend on the stage and why and the age. So I'm sorry I can't answer it, but sometimes it's needed. Sometimes it is needed. And if it's needed and it's carefully given in the right amounts, it can be very beneficial. But again, I say it with the caveat that it might not be. So I would, before I addressed it in that way, I would address everything else. And may I just say, our sugar levels, we need to, if someone has had cancer, everyone knows this, sugar and sugar forming foods feed cancer. So I would address everything in the diet before I started just putting testosterone into my body.
Very good. Thank you. Another question is, how does fasting affect fertility?
Are we talking about, well, all fertility, male and female? Yes, it is very important, because the body resets, but also the body produces hormones that begin to absorb the toxins in the blood, and also cleanses the body and gives the stomach a break. So when you do eat food, it's going to process the nutrients at a better and higher rate, which is very important. And by the way, zinc and magnesium is very, very important for female fertility, because as zinc is important for the prostate and the highest levels are contained in the prostate of a man, the exact same thing is true for the ovaries of a woman. So it's very, very important. And releasing, having that break resets the body, very important. It also helps with diabetes and weight, etc.
Yeah, the phytoplankton is also a good protocol to help with that as well.
Yes, and afterwards to break the fast with phytoplankton, which we have given a lot of patients, phytoplankton, chelated chlorella, and our wonderful Okinawa, which is very important in fertility because it has very, very high levels of ionic calcium, very, very high levels of calcium.
So another question. I know many Afro-Caribbean men so anti the rectal examination because it was very intrusive. I'll even speak for myself. I remember the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, he hired a bus literally for hundreds, going into thousands of men to be tested, where it was a mini lab. So we were lining up to go onto the bus to be tested by the doctors, etc. And I remember being in this queue for probably 3 hours. And when my time came to go up there, and I looked at these men and their big hands, I said, let me go back to London and find myself a little Filipino who could, I kid you not.
Question. What a fantastic question. I had a whole slide on it.
Yeah. So can the blood test detect, whether there is an issue versus the intrusive examination?
I had 7 slides on it, but I just want to say it's a big topic and I'd love to come back and talk about it. Often the PSA and the intervention and the exam doesn't diagnose it correctly. The best way is with an MRI scan.
Right.
And, many presidents, you don't see many presidents who've died of prostate cancer male because they get a lot of MRI scans. So we can't afford it on the NHS to do it. But an MRI scan, I'll tell you what it does do, which I've had to do quickly. It does tell you when a man is in trouble. It just gives you a quick indication. If the PSA test is borderline, you can conduct an examination for further confirmation and then take it further. So then I would recommend it because it's our health. But absolutely the MRI. And many of those examinations don't actually lead to the correct diagnosis anyway, and the intervention with the PSA and the drug treatments. But that's another topic altogether. But certainly that would be the best way to answer it.
What about the ultrasound? Is that also
very good? But the MRI is better, but ultrasound can also show, yes. But often with the ultrasound, there has to be some form of insertion.
Right.
And then you have to drink a liquid, which usually has steroids in it, etc., so that there's no infection. So you're entering into other aspects of the exam.
Right. So for somebody who has an inflamed or an enlarged prostate, what advice would you give them in regards to bringing down the size?
I would immediately increase the amount of pure water that I consume. I would stop all sugar and change my diet completely. I would start the intermittent fasting and I would break the fast with a really good chlorophyll drink. The claret is amazing, but if you want to make it, I would say a beautiful health juice and etc. I would change. In the beginning, they often feel terrible, but I would really lower the inflammation because I assure you, by the time the prostate is inflamed, the heart's in trouble, the kidneys, the adrenals, lots of other things are in trouble in the body. And I would certainly not have sugar-forming foods. And what I mean by corn syrup, sugar syrup, a lot of carbohydrates that form sugar in the body. So, and I would also cut out on white flour, which is very toxic to the bowel because it stops the peristaltic, it interferes with the peristaltic action, which you cannot liberate the compounds, the nutrients from your food. So there's so many aspects to it. But may I also mention, which we haven't mentioned, I didn't have to, people with prostate problems must also look at the health of their mouth, their oral health. I would look at the teeth. Often bad dental work or too much dental work or not enough can lead to a lot of inflammation in the body. So it all starts here.
It does.
And it must be looked at. Mercury fillings, too many, I'm so sorry, root canals, all that sort of thing. That was another slide, is so important, how we begin with the body. And I would also look at that because I found a lot of patients who have had a lot of dental work, especially bad dental work, and in close proximity because they haven't addressed the problem often. And gum disease can lead to inflammation, especially inflamed prostate. A lot of men with bad dental or inflamed gums have enlarged prostate. So there's a real correlation there.
And just also, Rebecca, another one is the red meat is probably the ultimate to cause inflammation. You've got too much starchy food in red meat is another problem. It's corrosive and has sometimes really, really serious effects to the gastro, the gut, and the digestive system as well, and increasing high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes. So as clean a diet as you can would be better.
Thank you for saying that, because I did one of the largest studies in men looking at vegans, vegetarians, and omnivores, and I can assure you, vegan men that ate very well had a lot lower inflammatory responses in their body, and many, many other things, which is an entire topic, but there is no doubt about it. And we mustn't forget fats. We mustn't forget those beautiful oils, the olive oil, all those lovely oils, walnut oils that are very, very good for the body. The oily fish, the DHA, all those are very, very beneficial in lowering. And of course, our black seed oil, which we're going to talk about next week.
Very
so that's
powerful.
all next week.
Very powerful.
I won't bring. Yeah.
So I'm going to defer to Sister Sylvina. Did you want to ask a quick question, because our time has expired. So, and anybody on the front line. But Sister, did you want to ask a question?
Yes, I did. In terms of, I'm not sure if you're going to go into this next week, but I was really intrigued by what you mentioned about nano minerals, and the whole concept of nano silver, nano, all the other things you mentioned. I just wondered two things: the price points of them, you know, for an authentic nano mineral, first of all, and also accessibility to it. And does it, from what you said, you know, you're really advocating it, but is it worth going that extra mile, I would say, to go the nano mineral route, is what I'm asking.
Absolutely. It's the difference between a Ferrari and I just want to explain, I know, once the price-wise, you may pay more for the bottle than you would for supplements, but you need 4 of the supplements in order to obtain the same quantity. And by then, you're getting a lot of excipients and fillers. They have to, even if they steam them, they can't possibly turn it into a pill without something and changing it. Less pressure on the body. You don't have to have any of it sitting in the liver and the kidneys and the stomach, which can cause detrimental effects. A lot of people that have problems with their kidneys and liver take a lot of vitamins that just sit there and rot. So you've got this sophisticated system that's completely natural, very advanced mineral solution that's going immediately into the cells, 100% bioavailable, no liberation needed at all. And when you take them, how different people feel. They comment on the magnesium with headaches, etc., especially women with hot flushes and so forth, and how the gold for arthritis, but the magnesium for joint pains with all your athletes, joint pains, etc. So the bottle might seem more expensive, although we're doing it to begin with, and you keep it and you put water in, the water becomes biophotonic water, by the way, because it's medical grade bottle. So as well, you wouldn't want to part with these bottles, but you've got something that you know is going right in the end, it's cheaper. I assure you it's cheaper.
It
is.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Jay, did you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I was just saying it's you know, the body, that's the greatest investment that we should have. How you were in comparison to the Mercedes car and the house and the jewelry and the this and the that.
The Ferrari.
You know, they are the Lamborghini, they're the Bugatti. You know, it's nature in its purest form, and that's what the body's beckoning for, yearning for. So we provide those things. It functions like the Ferrari, like the Lamborghini. So we're privileged to have these things, but we see the benefits. We reap the benefits even in this current climate.
Fantastic. Last question, and then we're going to close. Jeff?
Thank you, Dr. Zoe, and thank you, Jay. I was just going to ask with relation to the same nano minerals. You mentioned during your presentation with regards to a protocol in relation to using them. And can you briefly speak to us into the protocol for prostate health and also general health? And is there any issues with regards to using or not using different types? I have nano silver, nano zinc, nano iron. I haven't got to the nano magnesium yet, but I think I should do. But is there any collaboration or ones you should use or ones you shouldn't use?
Yes, there is. I just want to say that we'll send you a sheet, because sometimes you can mix them together. If you also write to me, I can tell you the quantities you can take for your specific needs. But just the most important thing is you can mix them together. They must be mixed in a glass vessel, but they must be consumed immediately because they have different nano properties. Some are below 5 nanos, some are a little bit higher, and they'll aggregate. So you take them immediately. You must hold them in the mouth 30 seconds to 3 minutes for them to go through the soft tissue. And if you include I don't know your situation, but you've got nano silver. And if you did have a lot of chronic inflammation, you look very healthy to me. The nano silver, you would want to start very, very slowly because of the die-off effect, and you want to consume a lot of extra water. So from that point of view, and the nano gold has to build up in the body as well, but we'll discuss that. But I would add nano magnesium to that because it's the cofactor and it'll bring them up to another level.
Yeah, just depending on the type of enlarged prostate or the cancer, it depends on which level it is, where it is, which protocol will be designed, because it will be best spoke to the body and type of prostate cancer that you have as well.
Well, just for general health purposes, especially during the COVID.
General health during COVID. Fantastic. I'm sorry, I misheard. Then I would say 30 mils of magnesium and 20 mils of all the others. And it's probably a lot to consume in one, but you could take one and then mix the others according to how much, and you feel amazing. You'll feel amazing on that. And just once a day. And if you eat very well, then I'll see you the next centenarian. I'll see you grow very, very old. You feel amazing. You haven't started them yet for a reason, or?
No, I've been taking them. My family been taking them. I have a family member that deals with a lot of natural products. But when I was listening to your presentation and I saw a slide with a protocol and it had different different types, I was wondering if you could mix ones which would be better. And when I mean mix, I don't mean mix directly. I mean take. Can you take silver along with the iron, along with the magnesium? That was really the question.
So yes, the only one you can't is indium, which is something completely separate, but absolutely all the others you can, definitely, yes.
Fantastic, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Not a problem, it's been a pleasure.
Yes.
So we're going to have to leave it there because of time, and we've taken so much of your wonderful.
Oh, thank you so much. You haven't at all. It's been an honor, a complete honor. Thank you so much, everybody.
The honor has been ours. We have learned so much, and you've touched on so many important areas that I can honestly say I've never heard I've never heard this subject approached the way how you approached it today, and I'm very grateful for it. And the bottom line, I think, to all of us is we've got to arrest our bad habits and put them in jail and give them a very long sentence, if not the death sentence. So with that said, Dr. Zoe and Brother Jay, let's give them both a big, massive, well-deserved spiritual injection round of applause.
Thank you to all of you.
We look forward to having them both next week for part 2. We're going to talk black seed oil, and we're going to drill down on what we started today. We're going to touch on some of the bits that we were unable to drill down into. But remember, everybody, we've all got brothers and sisters and cousins and aunties and uncles and nieces and nephews. So let's get the family on next week. Bring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 persons. This is so important. I can't stress how important it is for us not to come back by ourselves next week. You must bring somebody with you, even if you just sit them down in the same room or send them a link, okay? Because this is our life, right? This is our life. And we don't want to be spending time preparing a will more so than being willing, you know, to extend our days. Let's be willing to extend our days rather than be checking out of here prematurely with so much to look forward to going forward. So thank you, doctors. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a lovely evening. Thank you.
And you too. We look forward to seeing you next week. And to all of you on the line, please visit the website that is posted in the chat. And please, you know, get your discount from Spiritual Injection and acquire these products. These products are really the Rolls Royce of these types of minerals. They're the Rolls Royce. But if you want a Ford Cortina, what can I tell you? Holland and Barrett down the street.